Hey Cinephiles. For many of us, Letterboxd is an everyday tool, resource, and social media network. It's how we keep track of all the films we watch and want to watch, a place to share our opinions on these films, where we can see what our friends and others are watching and take part in discussions. Or maybe it's a place to make insanely specific lists that nobody asked for. As with any website or app that we use day in and day out, we're naturally going to start thinking of ways it could improve, be these quality of life enhancements or additional features to round out the overall experience. Cinephiles can be a particular and opinionated bunch, so there's probably no shortage of ideas when it comes to imagining what else Letterboxd could offer. And that's why I asked you, over on the Cineflect Community tab, what improvement or new feature would you like to see added to Letterboxd? I gathered your ideas along with my own Letterboxd wish list over the years for 10 features we'd like to see added to Letterboxd. It's time for
Cineflection.
This marks the first installment of Cineflection, where I give you an open-ended prompt about something film-related, and then collect your responses with my own for a video on the topic. To take part in the next installment, be sure to check out the Cineflect Community tab. Alright, let's kick off this Letterboxd improvement seminar with a few profile page enhancements. Now, the profile page is what you see anytime you click on a member's username. It shows you their favorite films, their bio, all their recent activity, links to all of their diary, reviews, watch list, etc. It's basically the central hub for each user where they can fly their own unique film-loving flag. Naturally, there's several features we'd love to see added to our profiles. Rowan Tiempson suggests adding one more spot to favorite films, bringing it from 4 to 5, which I think is a swell idea. As Unrealistic Review pointed out, top 5 is a term and concept that's used far more often in pop culture and fandom, so it just makes sense. And going along with that, Vitamin Dan wanted the ability to add favorite actors and directors along with our favorite films. I would love that addition. Anything to make our profile pages more personal is a plus in my book. I would trust the UI designers at Letterboxd to find the best place for those, whether right below favorite films or maybe somewhere along the sidebar. Also, a couple people suggested a currently watching feature. Personally, I'm not sure how often I would use that, but it would be nice to have the option, especially for any miniseries, docu-series, or limited series. Okay, of all the items on this list, this is bound to be the most polarizing, as it's a debate that's been raging over Letterboxd for years now. We have some people who'd like to see TV shows added to Letterboxd, and others who feel they shouldn't be included at all.
You shall not pass!
The two sides were even reflected in the small sampling for this video. As is, the protocol seems to be anything that's a mini-series, docu-series, or limited series gets added to Letterboxd, but ongoing series typically are not. We saw this in action last year when The White Lotus was added to the site, but then removed after it was renewed for a second season. A decision that has caused some confusion since Letterboxd has made exceptions for popular shows like Loki and Big Little Lies. I think the biggest issue here is that it's just not consistent or clear why some series get added and others do not. Personally, I think the more the merrier when it comes to titles that can be logged on Letterboxd, but opening the floodgates for all TV shows is a mighty tall order and potentially disrupts the whole Letterboxd messaging of your life in film. So maybe the status quo is the best compromise, but I still think they should address those aforementioned exceptions. What do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this divisive first world problem. Ben suggests adding a quote section under films, directors, and actors, similar to the quote sections for books and authors on Goodreads. Of course, this is already a popular section on IMDb. I love quotes, and you can quote me on that. I think this would be a welcome inclusion, and to take it a step further, the ability to add a quote or reference one when you're writing a review would be pretty nifty too. Mass tag editing. This idea came from Bald Aurealis. It's a quality of life feature that most users might not think about, but would be a godsend for those who utilize the tagging feature. Basically, anytime you log a film or make a list, you have the option to add tags. You can then peruse all your tags from your profile. It's a way to organize or keep track of whatever you want. For example, all the films I've watched with my dad. It's a cool tool that you can get as much out of as you put into it. The biggest problem is there's no way to edit these tags en masse. As far as I know, you need to go to each film and list individually if you want to change a tag. So pretty please, Letterboxd overlords, grant us minions mass tag editing. Dear Nancy wants to see suggestions based on an algorithm as good as TikTok. This is an intriguing proposition since algorithms are the secret to TikTok's massive success, leading users to videos, trends, and creators best suited for their tastes, thus causing them to spend more time on the platform. To my knowledge, there isn't an algorithm-powered recommendation feature on Letterboxd. It all seems to be driven by what's popular, but I could certainly see a use for it. If they implemented something similar to Netflix, recommendations based on your watch history, and more importantly, your rating of what you've watched, it could be a reliable way to find new films. It could also be used to connect you with fellow cinephiles with similar taste. And speaking of interacting with other members, Mainly Movies had two great ideas on that front. The first is to be able to mark a review as read, whether or not it's also displayed as a stat to the reviewer, or something you could just toggle for your own reference. If you're sifting through the activity feed or browsing somebody's reviews, this would be a nice quality of life feature to have. Another cool concept proposed by Mainly Movies is to be able to search 2 or more lists for overlap and/or differences. One example is if you and a friend had each made a list of your favorite films of 2021 and wanted to quickly see how many films you have in common. Taking this idea further, the ability to compare your own films list and watch list with someone else's, and having a bevy of search and filter options at your disposal. You could then easily find out what films each other has seen, hasn't seen, or wants to see. Letterboxd currently has solid sorting capabilities for individual lists, but this sounds like the perfect evolution to find out more information already on the site a lot faster and a lot easier. Finally, I've made my fair share of lists on Letterboxd over the years, 131, but who's counting? And as far as making lists of films goes, I'm one happy wiki. But one thing I've wanted since I first started using Letterboxd is the ability to make lists of people, be it directors, actors, cinematographers, composers, basically any and all of the people you see on the cast and crew tabs of any given film. With this feature, I could finally make my list of the best filmmakers to emerge in the 21st century, or ranking the most problematic actors in Death on the Nile, or the greatest cinematographers of all time. It would just really open up the list-making possibilities on Letterboxd and give members a reason to spend even more time on the site. IMDb has had the option to make lists of films or people for years. Actually, you can make a list of images too, which is pretty cool. But this feature could and probably would look so much better on Letterboxd. Those are 10 ways to make Letterboxd an even better destination for cinephiles. What do you think of these ideas? Or maybe you have some of your own to add. Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you down there. Also, head over to the Cineflect Community tab to take part in the next installment of
Cineflect.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to Cineflect for video essays, film lists, and more.
I got this!
And click that bell next to the subscribe button if you'd like to be notified anytime I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching. For Cineflect, I'm JS Lewis. Until next time, watch something good.